G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. NO here, as always, going through SportsDeck for week 13. Had a fairly solid week. Another little rank jump up to about 114, so about 30 spots. It was about 200th for the round and scored 460, so just slightly above average, I'd say. There's been some poor scores lately, and for me, it's as you can see, it's the quarterbacks that have sort of been letting me down ever since I've flipped him so many times. I had Paddy, of course, and he was going through a slump. Swapped into Josh Allen, and Allen went through a slump. He's only had one good game for me, and then the other one was upgrading to whenever I got Lamar, and likewise with him, he hasn't been too flash, but his floor at least is somewhat highish than others because of his rushing upside and whatnot. So yeah, it's just been a disappointing position, especially when I did consider Herbert at the same time as Lamar, but went the other way, and that's Herbert's been going well. But anyway, I think I might make a trade there at some point towards the back end, whether it's this week or the next. I'm not sure, but I mean, pretty much set with a full team now that I did trade CMC down to Madison this week, which I tweeted, and then the other trade was Elijah Moore to Justin Jefferson. So both those trades worked really well. VC JT took that, thought it was enough to take. And I did slightly consider benching Najee. Don't ask me why, but he just had a couple of down weeks for Javonte because Melvin Gordon being out, he'd have the full number one role. And against KC, who, look, their defense has been improving, but still, it's not the flashiest part of their game and it's not amazing. So I thought he might get, I mean, he did get a late touchdown, was pretty junk, but he scored 53 and that was on the bench. So there's a few missed points there. And somehow Gainwell got the sort of the main workload for Philly, but yeah, never starting him. So yeah, all round running backs decent. I mean, there isn't not like there's anyone that's going big that I'm really missing. Maybe Mixon, but he didn't have a great week himself. Fournette was alright if you traded him in. I did mention Elijah Mitchell as well, who was alright. Both scored. Yeah, there just isn't anyone jumping out with all the main guys injured. It's just a bit of a nothing position this season. It's been pretty brutal. So we've got the main guys you want. I may at some point. I mean, seeing that I do have now 7 mil in the bank because of CMC going down to Madison, I may make a trade there at some point. But if Javonte's got the role again this week, I'm happy to just bench him because JT has the bye. Sorry, bench JT and just play him. And we'll figure out the captains later. But I'm happy to do that for another week and maybe use my cash elsewhere. But yeah, get onto the receivers. Cup sort of bounced back to his best. Average 40 for the year, so crazy good season from him. And JJ, what an unbelievable trade in. He's an absolute beast. This kid, unbelievable. Just gets it done. I mean, Kirk is probably mostly underrated for his career, but he's not the best quarterback in the world. But he just gets it done. They got a great connection going the last 2 years, and I think Thielen did go down with an ankle or something. So yeah, just got absolutely fed. JJ did, so hopefully he'll be good for the rest of the season. I think most people would have him by now. But yeah, Diggs not great. Not much you can do there with a snow game in New England. But yeah, we'll just keep rolling with Diggs. He'll be fine, and I think the Bills have Tampa this week, so it's not too bad. It's not too bad of a matchup for throwing. Tyreek, along with Kelsey and the Chiefs, just didn't really do too much. It was more Darrell Williams that got it. I think got a fair chunk of work, and Clyde, but and Paddy ran one at him himself. So just a down week for them. They still got the win, but they're just really hit and miss all season. So I mean, if you've gone without Tyreek, because most would have just kept Kelsey all year, but if you've gone without Tyreek, it's probably been okay. But he's averaging 30. It's just coming in 60s and sixes. Like there's no in between. So that's just the way it's been. And they can just have those blow up games anytime. So it's just for me too risky to even bother moving. I think they can finish the season well. Cordell came back last week, had a big game. This week, just sort of solid, got most of the work. So we take his score again. He's been solid. I thought I'd be ditching him at some point, but hasn't happened. And he's just been solid for me. Besides missing that game with the injury, but yeah. And then there's Terry. It's just really disappointing. He's playing like 90% of the snaps, getting still a fair amount of targets. He's just not connecting as well. Heineke's very hit and miss himself. So it's a bit annoying. And Gibson sort of come back into the fold after the bye because he had much of a shin injury for much of the season. But he's been used a lot more. So whether that's had an impact, who knows? But the fact is now I sort of have 7 wide receivers I can play, so I can just bring Devontae back on after the bye and have Terry as the 7th. And whether I can upgrade him or trade him, I'll look at that. But yeah, just pretty disappointing that he's only had a couple of really good games, and most have just been pretty underwhelming. Much like the tight ends, who just, obviously Waller was injured, I used him as a loophole and taking JT score, but Kelsey, yeah, look, still is tight end one, but it's not really making you feel good. And Pitts, I've just held on to, obviously with Waller injured, got his score. And Kittle's come back recently with Debo going out for 2 weeks and has gone large, and really large last week. Scored about 80 points in this format, so he's one to look at. He's definitely one to look at, and maybe I do it this week. But yeah, I feel like they're just so hit and miss the tight ends. Whether it's worth making a trade there, I don't know. Still a few weeks to go, so Boswell's kicker, whatnot. Rams played them against the Jags and got a 20-pointer, so we take that after the fuck up last week of fielding them for a -2 and missing the Broncos 30 odd. But I'll make that change now. I think the Broncos have a good matchup against Detroit, and the Rams get Arizona, so that's an easy swap there. Now, again, I could most definitely hold trades this week. Maybe VC JJ on Friday, maybe VC Tyreek, someone like that with a lot of upside in the early games. Obviously Lamar plays early as well. Could VC him. And then, into Cup on the last game, maybe Josh Allen, bit risky against Tampa. So there's not a great deal of options, but I could just hold the trades. I could really just hold the 6 trades. We do have 5 weeks left. So, 5 weeks, 6 trades, that's, you're going to have to save some somewhere. And later on, we will see some more injuries and resting. So if I can field a full team this week, I might just stick it and roll with it. But it probably just largely depends on Javonte and Melvin's health, and if he's going to get the full workload against Detroit. I mean, I may even still play him if Melvin's back because it's such a good matchup that there might be points for both of them. Anyway, Madison should play again. Cook's still out, so that's fine. It is against Pittsburgh, which isn't the best, but that's fine. So there's really not a lot I need to do. It's just whether I want to waste one of those last 6 trades on getting anyone in. If we were to say, for instance, trade Terry for a wide receiver of who we're missing, Debo's injured, wouldn't get him. Antonio's a flog, he's done. It'd be Deontay. It'd be either one of the 2 Tampa Bay receivers, which is it is risky. You never know who's going to go well there, or it would be Keenan Allen for Chargers have a very good run home, but he's got COVID and he's just announced that Mike Williams is a close contact to his, so he's not. Well, he's in doubt. He may still play, but Keenan, I think for sure, isn't playing as far as I'm aware. CD is there as an option to bring him back. He's still very highly owned, actually. And D Hop is slightly an option. Now that he's fit, Kyle is fit. Still a bit ownership there, but might be some dead teams and might be more a bit of a pod. And other than that, there's not much. So whether I think that's worth a trade, even though he's just my 7th receiver, I'm not sure. I'm leaning towards no. The only one trade I could make is Waller may still not be fit, but he will be back at some stage, is use some of this cash to get Kittle in. And, you know, he scored 80 odd last week, 70. And sort of ride with him. I mean, the thing is the Niners do have a very, very favourable draw to end the season. I own a lot of them in, redraft leagues, dynasty leagues, and, Cincy, Atlanta, Tennessee, Houston is very, very good for sort of playoffs, and then obviously Rams. That still counts in this format. But Rams haven't been too flash, so it's a very decent draw the way home, and then just roll with these three. And obviously the issue will be trying to figure out who to field each week, but until Waller maybe comes back and proves it, it'll be these two for now. So that's an option, and then I'll just sit on the other trade, and then obviously I'll need to make a trade in the running back section eventually. So let's say after JT's back, he'll be on the field. Can't field Madison forever because Cook will be back, and it's just down to how much cash do I save for who to get. I think Mixon's always probably going to be out of reach unless I, save all that cash from last week. Lenny is there. I don't hate Lenny, especially with the lack of options. Gibson and Swift are there if Swift gets healthy. I did mention Gibson, obviously. Let's just sort this by average. Look, James Conner's there. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. Elijah Mitchell, one I mentioned last week, is there. And to be honest, that's really it. It's not a hell of a lot. Kamara this week, if he's back against the Jets, looks nice, but he is still 14 odd mil. And the rest of their run is Tampa. It's up and down. It's decent without being great. So I will have to make a trade there at some point, unless maybe Melbourne's out for the season. But that's sort of where I'm sitting. It's not too exciting. Just sort of hanging on to the end now. Save the trades because you probably will need them coming into the last couple of rounds. And so that's about it. I'll quickly just go to the break even so we can all see them. I don't think that's it. I'm sure that's it, right? Projected week 14 break even. So there's a few low ones there. Javonte, Madison that I've got. T. Higgins has sort of bounced back. He's starting to play really well. Then the big ones are JT's is sitting at 80, but he was never going to be able to maintain that 20 mil price tag. I mean, maybe he will once he comes back, hit it, but he's there. Paddy's sort of there. So I don't hate getting on Paddy at a very reasonable price for the run home. And then there's Eckler. You're not trading him. Allen's, Allen I have contemplated trading in my mind only because he does have, I'll quickly bring it up, not the greatest 3-week stretch of Tampa, Carolina, whose defense is decent, and New England, who just shut him down on the weekend, albeit in a snow game. But then obviously those last two, Falcons and the Jets, look really nice. It is an option there to sort of cash in his 16 mil. And if we just look at the quarterbacks, bring in Kyler for less, who's fit now, firing, have a decent run home. Even Herbert I'd still consider. It's just that they're all sort of average around this for the season over their 12 or 10, 11, 12 games. So it's not like it's much of a muchness. You think you'd trade one in and get the hot streak for 5 weeks or whatever, get like a Herbert hot streak who's averaging almost 50, but Lamar's averaging 40 over that last 5 weeks as well, and I've been underwhelmed with him. So it's not, obviously Allen's down here at 35, but it's not a huge margin. So whether that's worth one of my trades, I'm not sure. Probably worth holding on to him as much as I can. So anyway, that's the team this week. Nothing else really to talk about. I'll quickly, haven't talked about this actually in a couple of weeks. Dropped a few games in my home league, the sleeper, which hasn't been great lately. I think I was 6-1 or 7-1. I think it was 6-1, and I've dropped. I think I'm on a 3-game losing streak. I'm now 8-5. Sitting in the third still. Going to make the playoffs, but I'm probably not going to get the top 2 spot. I don't think, unless I win this week, and I think I need Cheers to lose, which may happen, but then I need to make up a few points. So it's possible because top 2 do get the bye first week, so it'd be ideal. But yeah, we'll see. I've just, I got Robert Woods ACL, Antonio Brown, who was a good value pick, start of the season, hasn't shown up for about 6 weeks. And then just my QB too, running Dalton, Seaman, fucking old Simeon and Lance just hasn't worked. I had Darnold there for the first 6 weeks and he was really good, but he turned his sheet and I dropped him. So didn't draft well enough for quarterback. It's kind of killed me a bit. And then just lost some position players as well. So it's, I'm running pretty thin into the playoffs, but you never know. Anything can happen. So we'll see. All right. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys later.